we can have a recording. Okay, so in today's session, we are going to see a test called paired sample t-test. And multiple times I have received a query in the previous classes that participants were asking that what was the difference between a paired or unpaired. So paired means when we are going to take a data from a same population. So that means two or three times we have taken our readings or our data from a similar person or similar participants or from a similar groups. So this is the name of the test called paired sample t-test. Sometime it will be called as a dependent sample t-test. And instead of independent variable, here we are more concerning about the dependent variable. And as you can see, I have written the assumptions. The assumptions of paired sample t-test is what? The dependent variable must be continuous. Continuous means the data of dependent variable should be given in terms of numerical order. For example, rank 1, rank 2, rank 3, or rank 4, something like that. The observation are independent of one another. Whatever the population you have enrolled to evaluate your sample, that should be independent. That means one patient does not have any correlation with the another participant in your study. Dependent variable should be approximately normality distributed. That means data of dependent variable you should have got a bell-shaped curve. Contain. And one more thing, the dependent variable should not contain any outliers. This we have not discussed in the previous classes. What do you mean by outlier? See, with a single uh, definition, I can let you know that what do you mean by outlier. Whenever we are running any statistical test, we have to set a limit. For example, if we are running a linear regression or we are running a paired sample t-test, that we have to find out that at what range we have to enroll the participant in your study. For example, if any participant in our study is having a standard deviation plus or minus 4, plus or minus 4 will be considered as a normal value. That means this will be take as a standard. So any participant who is having a standard deviation either plus side or either minus side more than 4 plus or minus, we are not going to enroll in the statistical analysis. For example, how to set this will be called as 0, and this will be called as 1, this will be called as 2, this will be called as 3, and for example this will be called as 4. So we are going to set a range. For example, if I draw a line for a 4 4, so range for 4 standard deviation 4 will be called as this much, range for 3 will be considered as this much, range for 2 will be considered as this area, and range for 1 will be considered as, for example, this area. So any patient who is above this range, for example, if we are going to plot a standard deviation x or y axis, so any patient who is having standard deviation, for example, this is plus side and this is minus side, so any patient who is lying here or who is lying here, that we are not going to enroll in the statistical analysis. So those participants will be called as a outlier. So outlier we have to decide, and whenever we will apply a statistical test in SPSS, we'll give a option to set the outlier, that we have to set on 3 or we have to set on 2 or we have to set on 4. Basically we will set on either 3 or either on 4. So it will give us a range. That means how much error we are expecting. For example, if due to any error standard deviation has been increased in your project for few participants, so those participants you are not going to enroll in the final statistical analysis. So as we are discussing the hypothesis for all the tests, we will discuss the hypothesis for paired sample t test also. In most common paired t scenario, the hypothesis value is 0. Like for all in all of the tests, what we are doing, we were comparing the samples. Like we have a two different samples in like mu1 and mu2 was the condition for the independent, and mu1 is equal to mu2 is equal to mu3 was the condition for the ANOVA. This is for the independent sample t-test, and this is the condition for null hypothesis for one-way ANOVA. But in case of paired sample t-test, hypothesis value will be considered as 0. Clear? So what is that 0? That will be considered as a mean difference, that how much difference is there. Actually what we are doing, one sample we are withdrawing before giving the drug. For example, this is the area where we have given the drug. So you have taken a reading called A, and after that you have given the drug in your study, and after that again you have taken the reading called B. So two different time reading has been taken. Clear? So what you're trying to evaluate exactly, that is there any difference between A and B, or whatever the readings you have obtained in A are the same in case of B, that you're trying to find out. So we are looking for the U mu D, that is the mean difference. So mu will be called as a mean, and D here is designated as a difference of, for example, you can say that B minus A will be considered as this particular D. So null hypothesis says what? Null hypothesis says that mu is equal to D, that is the difference, that mean difference. This will be called as mu D, we used to call as mean difference, is equal to 0. Whereas alternative hypothesis says that mean difference is not the 0. It can be the less than 0, or it can be more than 0. So once I have given the example to you that we used to consider as null hypothesis, for example, that mean is equivalent to 20. But alternative hypothesis says that mean is not equal to 20. It can be 19, it can be 20, it can be 21, it can be 18, but it's not sure that it's not 20. It can be any reading, but it cannot be 20. So in the same way, what we are quoting here, that null hypothesis says that mu is equal to mean difference, or mu D we used to call mean difference is equal to 0. But alternative hypothesis says that mean difference is not equivalent to 0. It can be less than 0, or it can be more than 0. So what we have to do, we have to reject the null hypothesis. We have to reject this one, null hypothesis, and we want to prove that there is a difference in the mean of A and the B. That means if you are going to prove that there is a difference in the mean of B and A, then only you are able to prove that actually your molecule which you are going to evaluate, or the drug which you are going to evaluate, is having an efficacy. So to illustrate this particular example and how to do it manually, I have taken an example. Suppose a sample of n student were given a diagnostic test before studying a particular module, and then after completing a module. So a module was given to a number of students concerning with a diagnostic test. So we want to find out what? We want to find out in general that our teaching leads to improvement in the student knowledge or skills or not. So how you are going to find out? By taking the test score. So two value we have to calculate. One will be called as X, and one will be called as Y. So X is what? X is the test score before teaching the module to the student, and Y is the test score after teaching the module to the students. So what we are going to do, we are going to complete these 5 steps. For example, if you want to run, or we want to do manually the paired sample t-test, so we have to follow all these 5 steps. In 5 steps, what we have to do, we have to calculate the difference of individual, DI. We have to calculate the DI di. That is, I stands for individual reading. For example, if we have a 5 student under each group, in a group, so student number 1, student number 2, student number 3, student number 4, and student number 5 all will be considered as this I. So difference of I we are going to calculate, and how we are going to calculate yi minus xi. This will stay in the further slide. So once we will have the reading of this, we are going to get a d bar, and d bar will be called as a mean difference. Clear? And this is the formula for the standard error which we are going to use in the t statistics. And after that, the same method is there. We have to follow the t distribution table, and we have to look for the value and the standard, then we can find out the decision. So how you are going to get a numerical in the examination? For example, you are going to get a examination in the examination like this, and if any question paper or any where you are attempting an exam, if they have a condition like this, they have written something like pre or post, or they have written something like before or after. So you are able to find out, or you can assume that it's a paired sample t-test. So by seeing the pre or post, before and after, x or y, something like this. So see, actually this difference they are not going to give you in the examination. This you have to calculate. I have done it myself only. They are going to give you either 2 columns, or they are going to give you a 3 columns. See, a student here, it just a not the data, it's just showing the serial number. Clear? That means 20 number of students was there in the class, and they have conducted a test 2 times. So before starting the module, they have taken the test and they have noted down the score of individual student. For example, the first student have scored 18 before reading the in a module, and after that, once he have got in knowledge and skill, it has been improved, and after that his score was found to be 22. So like this, data will be entered in a 2 different column. One column belongs to pre, this one, and one column belongs to post. So if you want to evaluate any molecule in your study, you can set the 2 different columns in SPSS software. One column will have a reading for pre, and another column will have a reading of post. You can say that before giving the drug or after giving the drug. So what you have to do the numerical, you have to calculate the difference we have to calculate. And how we can do, for example, this is our x and this is our y. So y minus x we have to do, we are going to get a difference. For example, 22 minus 18 plus 4, 25 minus 21 plus 4, 17 minus 16 plus 1, here we have got. And once you do the sum of all, you are going to get a value of d bar. This is the value of d bar. This one is the d bar. So d bar you are going to use here. Clear? And this is the formula for the paired sample t-test, and you can see what we have in the formula. Formula for paired sample t-test, we are going to calculate the t statistics. So d bar is the mean difference which we have calculated. S square is the sample variance. This one, S square is the sample variance. N is the number of sample, that how many students are there. That is we know that it's at 20 students. T is the paired sample statistics, and degree of freedom, as we have to look for the t statistics chart. So obviously we have to find out the degree of freedom, and formula for degree of freedom for this test is also n minus 1. Just you have to remember that for independent t-test we are doing n minus 2. For remaining all the tests, we are taking the degree of freedom as a n minus 1. Clear? So by adding the readings here, we can get the difference. And as you can see that how this sample variance has been calculated, I will let you know. So calculating the mean and standard deviation of the difference give, see, you have to calculate the mean and the SD. Then only you can calculate the sample variance. As I told you that in, I think, day 4, we have discussed that how we are going to calculate the variance. First, we have to calculate the mean, and from the mean, we can calculate the variance. So that variance, because whenever I was teaching mean and variance to you. So in that example, mean was found to be something around 8 and variance was found to be 8.25. So there is a difference between the mean and variance. So that variance we have to calculate. So by calculating the mean and standard deviation of the difference will give us a D bar. That means we have calculated the difference, and from that we have calculated this D bar. So D bar was found to be, for example, 2.05, and the standard deviation is 2.8 for the example, for the numerical which is shown here. Therefore, the standard error for the difference you can find out by this formula, that standard deviation divided by square root of n. You're going to get a value for SE, standard error of variance. So once you have the value of mean variance, you can calculate the t statistics, because the D bar value we have already calculated, that is 2.05, and the variance which we have calculated is this one, and this is the t score which we have found. For example, this is the t score, and this t score we have to look into the chart by applying the degree of freedom 19 at alpha level of see, alpha level here, for example, we are taking as a 0.04 or 0.05. That is based upon the examiner own choice, that at what alpha level he want you to suggest. But what we have to do, that you have to compare this 3.2 at degree of freedom 19. So if we look to the t distribution table, we have to go back, that what is the value for degree of freedom 19 at alpha level. This is the t distribution table, and we can see here the value for degree of freedom 19. This is the line for 19, and if we are looking for 0.05, then value will be 2.0. So value is 2.0. So what we have to do, we have to compare with 2.09. 2.09, we will remember the value, and we'll go back to our test called paired sample, and we can see that the tabulated value is 2.09, and we have to compare our this value with this one. Clear? Now what the rule says, what the standard says, the calculated value should be more than the tabulated value. Our value should be more than the tabulated value. That means our this score should be more than this one for the result to be significant. And here we have proven that our value was found to be 3.2, which is more than 2.09, and we can say that our result was found significant, and our p value is less than 0.05. So how we are going to write? We are going to write in such a way that p is less than 0.05, in such a way like this, and result was found significant, and we are able to reject the null hypothesis. So this is the way that how we are going to do the numerical. Actually, two things we have to calculate. The first thing is the D bar, and second is the standard error of variance, or you can say that mean variance we have to calculate. If you know that how to calculate the variance, and from that you can calculate the standard error and D bar by using y minus x. And after that you can do sum of all, that you can do sum of all, you are going to get a value of the D bar. So mean difference is the one. So both method can be applied. For example, you can do by another way. For example, you can calculate the mean of x and mean of y, and you can find out that what was the exact difference is there, and that difference you can quote in the thesis, and that value we are going to see in the test when we are going to apply with the help of SPSS. So in SPSS analysis, when we are applying the paired sample t-test, the route is the same, that we have to go to analyze, we have to go to the compare mean. So instead of other test, we will click on the paired sample t-test. So it is not necessary that if you have a 5 or 6 different sample to evaluate, so you have to run the test of 5 or 6 different times. You can increase the number of pairs. So for example, one pair is for systolic blood pressure before and after. Second pair is for diastolic blood pressure before and after. Third pair will be for fasting blood sugar before and after. Fourth pair will be random blood sugar before and after. Fifth pair will be HbA1c reading before and HbA1c reading after. Something like this. 5 or 6 different readings you can run in a single test. No need to apply the test again and again. So each set will be called as a pair. So I'll show you in the SPSS that how the pair will be made in the software. Like this, you have to enter the data. For example, we want to see now for SPSS, I have taken another example. What I did, few participants was there, those who have joined a gym. A gym was giving a, for example, a some sort of course, that if you'll join a course, now the owner of the gym want to write something in the advertisement. He want to find out that how much weight the obese patient is going to lose if they will join the module or the program of my gym. For example, in for a month of 15 days or something like in 1 month. See, they have made a program which contain a different sort of exercise, and the owner of that gym want to display an ad in the TV or in the television or in the newspaper, and there he want to quote a particular figure, and he want to find out that what figure he should quote. Either he will should write 10 kg or either he should write 15 kg. He want to give a number in terms of that this much you are going to lose, and if not, then we are going to give your money back. So he want to be sure that at least 5 kg or at least 2 kg or at least 3 kg, how much the participant can be lose their weight. So what he did, he have taken a few participants before launching the program. He want to find out the mean difference, that how much difference. Might be some person will lose 10 kg, some person will lose 2 kg, but he want to find out the mean. What was the mean difference? So what he did, he had taken around 150 patients, those who are coming regularly to the gym, and he have noted down the weight first. So that will be called as weight 1. So when they have enrolled into a program, and when the program was finished after a month, then again he has taken the weight, and that weight will be called as weight 2. So weight 1 will be entered like this in terms of number, and weight 2 will be entered in terms of number only in a second column. So 2 column you have to made for one pair. So like this you can make a multiple pair if you want to evaluate that. The first one is weight, second one is your systolic blood pressure, third is your fasting blood sugar, fifth one is your HbA1c, something other level you also you can include if you want. But like this we are going to enter the data in SPSS. So what is the route? Go to analyze, go to compare mean, and in compare mean you are going to get a option called paired sample t-test. So as you click on paired sample t-test, you are going to get a window for paired sample t-test, and here you can see software is giving an option for pair 1. So in pair 1, body weight before you have to add in variable 1, and body weight after you have to add in variable 2. So as you will add the data in variable 2, software is going to make another line here by quoting pair 2. So if you want to add a data of pair 2, you can add, otherwise you can run the test with a pair 1 only. So it's your wish, your own hypothesis, your own requirement of your own project, that you want to find out the difference of only one pair, that one variable, or multiple variable together. So here you can add something like 3, 4, or 5. For example, first one is for weight 1 and weight 2. Second one is for systolic blood pressure 1 and systolic blood pressure 2. Like this you can add if you have the multiple variables. So as you can see, I have already moved the body weight 1 and body weight 2 in the pair 1. So as pair 1 is completed, in the previous slide you cannot see the pair 2. So as the data of pair 1 is added in the software is going to make another line for you for the pair 2. So if it is a requirement of your project, you can add a variable of pair 2, otherwise you can run the test. And before that you have to go to the option. You have to go to the option. In option, you have to check that confidence interval of study is 95% or not. If it is 95%, okay, otherwise you can write and click on exclude cases analysis by analysis. That means if you want to find out that, for example, if 20 cases are there in your project, in your research, then you want to see each case separately, or you want to see the result of all together. So you have both options. So if you want to see each case separately, you can click this one, otherwise no need. So this is the result of paired sample t-test. We are going to get three tables, and what each table is representing, that we are going to discuss. The first table, like other previous table, we are going to get a descriptive statistics. We are going to get a detail of the variable, that if you have a multiple pair, then you will have another lines here, that pair 1 is for weight and pair 2 will be for blood pressure before and blood pressure after. Like this you will have multiple lines. As we have run only single pair, so we'll not have multiple rows. We have only 2 rows. And you can see from this table, what we are going to take, we are going to take a mean and standard deviation. Now, and why it is important? So in few cases it is possible that there will be a higher number in the W1 but lower number in the W2, because when people or participant have joined the gym, that time their number was 150, and after that you have got a dropouts. A few person who have not completed the course, and after that you are not able to take the weight. So that time your reading might be will not 150, it will be 146, it will be 145. So each directly you cannot say that sample size for the paid sample statistics was 150. You have to mention that what was the sample size before and what was the sample size after. Both will be quoted. That is important in case of this particular test. Clear? So n is important, standard deviation we are going to take, and the mean we are going to take from this first table to write in our thesis or in our research paper. Second, whenever you are going to apply the paired sample t-test, it is going to give a reading of the correlation also. That here correlation means what? Correlation means if W1 is increasing, what is going to happen to a W2? For if value of weight 1 is increasing, the value of weight 2 is also increasing, or there is a difference. What has happened? So how we can find out? We can find out with this significance value and the value of correlation. Now in correlation we have a standards. Highly correlated value will be called as when it is near or closer to 1. And as you can see that we have got a value 0.99, which is somehow around 1 only. So we can say that weight 1 and weight 2 is highly correlated to each other. Weight 1 and weight 2 are highly correlated to each other, and the test for correlation was found significant because we have got a significant value 0.001. But this we are not quoting, we are not bothering about the correlation here. We want to find out the mean difference, so that will be taken from the paired sample t-test. Now paired sample t-test statistics says what? First of all, it is going to give you the value which you are looking for, that how much is the difference. So software is not writing difference term called difference, so it is just writing the mean. So you have to find understand that this is the mean difference which is coming in the first column, and this is the standard deviation. So this is the mean NSD of D bar, mean NSD of D bar. So if that owner of the gym want to write in particular figure in the advertisement, so what he's going to write, he's going to write that you are going to lose at least 2.2 kg. If not, I'm going to give your money back. So but after applying the test, he have found that figure, that if you're going to join the program of my gym, so at least this much of weight you're going to lose, otherwise I'm going to give your money back to you. Clear? So from this table, what we are going to take for our thesis part, we are going to take a mean difference of standard deviation, the value of t, degree of freedom, and the significant value. So this we are not taking. So you can see that as we have calculated the t score, here also we have got the t score here, and degree of freedom is n minus 1. So sample size was 150 for W1, so here we got 149, and significant value is 0.01. So we are able to prove that the result was found significant, null hypothesis was rejected, and there is a difference in the weight 1 and weight 2. And how much is the difference? It is 2.2, and in the bracket you have to write the standard deviation along with the unit. See, for pair 1 might be unit is different, pair 2 might be there will be a different unit. So you cannot say that 2.2 of pair 1 is equivalent to 2.6 of pair 2. So might be 2.6 is different. It can be the kg meter square, or this will be given in terms of kg. So both units are different. So whenever you are writing your result, make sure that every time whenever you are writing for pair 1, pair 2, and pair 3, you should mention the units, and you can write that result was significant or not significant, and p value you can write is less than 0.05, or exact p value you can quote that we have got 0.001. So this was the last parametric test. As you can see, we have studied around 4 parametric tests. First one was one sample t test, second one was independent sample t test, third was ANOVA, and fourth was paired sample t test. And I'll let you know the difference today. I'm just looking for the slide where I can write. Some empty slide I'm looking so that I can write somewhere. Yes, this you have to remember. This I have not made the slide, but for you to remember, here I'm talking about distribution. That distribution is normal and distribution is not normal. We have got a skewness. This is not normally distributed data, and here data is normally distributed. If you have a one sample to compare, then the test is student t-test or one sample t-test. Student t-test and one sample t-test is the same. Clear? And for this we don't have any alternative. We can go for Freud test also, or if data is given in the terms of categorical order, then we'll go for chi-square, but test is not recommended. If you have two sample to compare, then the test is called independent t-test. An alternative of independent t-test is Mann-Whitney U. I'll just write MANN. Mann-Whitney U test. U test you can remember. And if you have a more than two sample to compare, that means you have a three sample, then the test is ANOVA. And alternative of ANOVA for not normally distributed data is Kruskal-Wallis. Kruskal-Wallis test. And fourth parametric test, see, till here I am discussing about sample. Okay, you have a sample 1, sample 2, or sample 3, 4, something like that. Not the fourth test. And if you have a condition like pre and post, before and after, then the test is paired sample. So all these student t-test, independent t-test, and ANOVA will be called as unpaired, whereas paired sample t-test will be called as test for the paired sample. And these are the alternative. So if someone will ask you that your data is not normally distributed and you have two sample to compare, you can go for independent t-test. And if data is not normally distributed, the alternative is Mann-Whitney U. So this side, at this row, you have all parametric tests: student t-test, independent t-test, ANOVA, and paired sample. With this four we have studied: student t-test, independent, ANOVA, and paired sample. All are parametric. Chi-square, Mann-Whitney U, Kruskal-Wallis, these all are called non-parametric test. So we are going to do this after in further classes. So till here we have finished, and you can see now one more thing I want to discuss. Whatever the test we have studied so far, student t-test, independent, ANOVA, and paired sample, you have quoted your result in terms of mean and standard deviation. So any, for example, you are referring any research paper, or you are reading the thesis of other person, and they have written their result in terms of mean and standard deviation. So you have to assume in your mind that they have applied a parametric test. They have applied a parametric test. After seeing the number of sample, how many were there, how many sample they have run in the test. If it is one test, then you can assume it is a one sample or student t-test. If two sample was there, you can assume it was independent sample t-test. If it was more than two sample, 3, 4, or 5 to compare, then the test was ANOVA. And if condition like before and after, pre and post, then the test is paired sample t-test. So by seeing the result, you can also find out that which test that author have applied. And if the result are given in terms of percentage for numerical data, what I'm saying, just to be remember, if result are written in terms of percentage for numerical data, then they have done a wrong thing. They have gone out of statistics. That means you should not follow that particular research paper. Or if they will write that student t-test has been applied and results are shown in terms of median, then also it is wrong. You should not refer that research paper. If they write independent t-test has been applied or has been conducted, or one way ANOVA has been applied or one way ANOVA has been conducted, and results are shown in terms of percentage, in terms of median, that is also wrong. You should not follow that research paper. Clear? All the parametric tests, we are quoting a result in terms of mean and standard deviation only and only. For all the non-parametric tests, chi-square results, we are quoting in terms of proportions. For Mann-Whitney U and for Kruskal-Wallis, we are quoting our result in terms of median and interquartile range. I'll repeat again. For chi-square, we are quoting our result in terms of proportions. I will let you know what that proportion mean. And result of Mann-Whitney U and Kruskal-Wallis, we are going to quote our results in terms of median and interquartile range, IQR. So for proportions, how we have to follow. And from here, you can see that I'm going to start with a non-parametric test. The first non-parametric test will be considered as chi-square. And what are the rules and regulation which we have to follow? I will let you know. For example, we wish to test a difference of proportion. We could use a chi-square test. The symbol for chi-square is this one, chi, not x square. This one is a chi, not x square. So most probably many researcher will find a difficulty in MS Office to find the sign of chi. So what they used to do, they used to write a x and a square. So that is wrong. X square is something else. You have to use a term called this one, chi square only. So whenever we want to test the difference of proportions in terms of percentage for categorical variable, that means independent variable is given in the term of category, dependent variable is also given in form of category, then which test will be applicable? Then the test will be applicable, that is your chi-square. Now for this one, which we are going to look, and this is the same slide which we have seen in the previous classes, that we don't have independent variable so we will not look for the higher lines, we'll go for this one, categorical variable. That it means what? That means when you have only one categorical variable, that is dependent categorical variable, then you are going for the chi-square test, goodness of fit. Clear? And if you have a independent variable categorical, dependent variable also categorical, then also you are going for a test called chi-square. So in common you can say that whenever you have a categorical variable to evaluate, either only one dependent categorical variable or both independent categorical as well as dependent categorical, you can choose the test called chi-square test. So as chi-square test starts from C, what I used to remember, that C require a categorical variable, C along with C, both sides C, everything C. Clear? So what it test means, as I told you in the books, see in SPSS we have only one method to apply the chi-square, but in books or in textbooks you are going to find a two different terms, two different type of chi-square. One will be called as goodness of fit, this we are going to do, and second one we'll do tomorrow, goodness of fit. Now goodness of fit means what? And second one will be called as test for independence. This is the test for independence. I will let you know the difference, that in what case you are going to apply goodness of fit and in what case you are going to apply the test called chi-square test for independence. First one, chi-square test goodness of fit. What we are going to calculate? We are going to, first thing to remember, we are going to calculate the proportions. In terms of percentage, that how many males or how many females. Now which kind of variable you can compare by applying this particular test? You can compare gender, having two different category, male and female, versus any categorical variable. For example, literacy status of the patient. You have literacy status, for example 10th plus 2, 10th, graduation, post graduation, PhD, that you have a 5 different category, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and one more you have a 6 called illiterate. So six category on this side and 2 category on this side. So 6 versus 2, you are going to apply a test called 2 by 6. 2 category on one side and 6 category on second side. So this will be considered in terms of test for independence. So category we are not bothering in case of goodness of it. Whatever the example I have written here, that 2 category under the gender and 6 category under the literacy status. So test will be called as 2 by 6 or 6 by 2. In case of chi-square test, test for independence, there we have to make a contingency table. I'll let you know that what the contingency table means. This will be called as contingency table, where we have to bother. Here you can see that this is the contingency table of 3 by 3. What this 3 by 3 means, that on this is our independent variable and this is our dependent variable. Sample ABC is the dependent variable, or see, obviously to sample we used to call a independent variable. So I'll write independent on this side, that these are independent. Independent variable always called sample, and dependent variable will write on top. So under the dependent variable we have a 3 category, and under the sample we have a 3 different sample. So 3 by 3, total will be 9. That total 9 category are there to evaluate. So this will be called as a contingency table. That if we have a 6, so 6 will be like this: 1 2 3 4 5 6, and here we are going to get the data of male and female, and here data of illiterate, here +2, here 10th, here graduation, then post graduation, then PhD. So this will be called as 6 by 2 table will be 12. The 12 columns will be there: 1 2 3 4 5 6, then again 6 at bottom. So 6 1 and 6 again, like this. So this example of contingency table. So this we are getting mainly in case of test for independence. We are not bothered about how many categories are there under independent and how many category are there under dependent in case of goodness of fit. Now, goodness of fit test will be applied when you have only single value for one variable. For example, you have only dependent variable, you don't have independent variable. Goodness of fit test will be applied when you don't have independent variable and you have a data of only dependent variable. Clear? Now, might be you're going to see the data in terms of number. For example, here also you are seeing number that 138, 83, 64, 68, but belongs to a some categories. So we are not bothered here about number, we are bothered about the categories. So how to do goodness of fit test numerically and with the help of SPSS, that we are going to see today. For that we have to calculate the chi-square statistics by following these 4 steps. Step number 1, this is the formula for chi-square. I will let you know. We have a chi-square sign, this one. What we have to do is equal to sum of O means observed, E means expected. Whatever you are going to observe, that you are going to reduce from the whatever you are going to expect, that you are going to reduce from the observed, square of that divided by expected. So in general you can say that this is the formula for chi-square, that O minus E square divided by E. Now O here stands for observed, E stands for expected, and at bottom again you have a expected. Now expected what? Frequencies, numbers. Clear? So what we have to do, I'll just directly show you in the slide. You are going to get a numerical like this in the examination. First box, this one. Don't look at this first. You are going to get this one. Now scientist or the person who has given, or an examiner want to find out that in a city, for example in Bombay, there are, or in Goa is very common site where we have a beach. Goa city having a 5 different beaches. कलंगट है, कुछ भी अब मेरे को याद नहीं है. I'll just say 1 2 3 and 4 5 कि 5 different beaches are there in Goa city, and they want to find out that at what beach the number of tourists are visiting more. They want to find out in average. Might be अब हो सकता है कि in some day in beach number 3 so much population are there, and next day only few tourists are visiting that particular beach. So in general they want to find in common. So what they will do, they will take a data of 1 month and they will do the sum of all. कि first कि this whatever you are seeing, this 9 here, this is the reading of whole month or whole week. For example, reading was, for example, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2, something like that, and finally they have got 9. So this is the data of 1 week that they want to find out that they have a 5 beach in a city, 5 different beach in a city. So examiner, if they want to confused, they will give data like this in terms of number, but these number are not representing to a data. It is a just serial number or beach site. See, they have written on the top that these are a beach site number 1, site number 2, site number 3, site number 4, site number 5. So this 5 does not mean that 5 individuals are there or 5 patients are there or 4 or 5 numbers are there. These are just the name. So you don't have to bother, you have to look this one as a category, that these are a category. They can write, just assume that these are A, these are B, these are C, D or E, nothing more than that. Don't take this one as a number, this one as a number, because these are the beach site. So on beach site 1, 9 tourists are visiting in a week. In beach site 2, 12 tourists are visiting. In site 3, 16 tourists are visiting. Site 4, 14 tourists are visiting. And site 5, 19 tourists are visiting. So if they want to find out that what is the average number of all the beach, you have calculated the average. The average was found to be 14. Sum of all 9 plus 12 plus 16 plus 14 plus 19, you are going to get number divided by 5. You are going to get a average. Clear? So examiners will give you numerical only this. Clear? He will not give the value of expected. If examiner have given the value of expected, then you don't have to bother. Otherwise you have to calculate. So average will be considered as a expected. So you can fill the expected value here. So if examiner has given the expected value, then directly see he will give the that observed number of tourists in each beach will be site number 1 is 9, site number 2 is 12, site number 3 is 16, but average is 14. He will write as expected. So you can assume that as per the formula is O minus E square divided by E. So you have a value of O, this one, and if the expected value is given by the examiner, then you can take 14. If not, you can calculate the average, and average will be considered as a expected value. So you will have a both the value now. You have a value of O, you have a value of E, and you can carry out the numerical as I did. Now what we have in numerical, first of all you have to do O minus E. 14 minus 9 minus 5, 14 minus 12 minus 2, and square of 5 is 25, square of 2 is 4, square of 2 is 4, 0 0, 5 ka 5, and we got a sum of this. Sum of this was found to be 58. Clear? So 58 divided by 14, we have got a score chi-square. Now chi-square value was found to be 4.14. Now what? If you have a table, you can proceed further. Otherwise, For students, you have to stick here only, that you can write that chi-square value was found to be 4.14. Clear? Now, if you have a table, then you can look. See, I have taken just a screenshot of table where my value was lying. Otherwise, table is very big. If you want to find out, you can find it by using the Google, that chi-square distribution table. There you are going to find. Now, degree of freedom, again n minus 1. Total sample size is 5. So 5 minus 1, we have got 4. So at degree of freedom 4, we'll see what is the value. This is degree of freedom, this side, and this is the value for degree of freedom. Now 2 alpha label we are using. Most common is 0.05 for 95% confidence interval, and if confidence interval of the study is 99%, then cutoff point will be 0.01. So we'll look for both. Now table value is 9.4 and second table value is 13.2. Now we'll come to the standards. We do not, I'm talking about do not reject null hypothesis because 4.14, which we have calculated, is less than 9.4. 9.4 I've taken from this, as well as 13.27. 13.27 is for standard deviation, 99% confidence interval, and 0.01 is the cutoff point. So for both the value 13.27 and 9.4, our value is less than that. So what we require, our calculated value should be more than the tabulated value for the null hypothesis to be rejected. Now, what was the here hypothesis? Hypothesis was that number of visitors or tourists in all the beach sites are same. Null hypothesis says that all the 5 beach sites are having a equal number of tourists, those who are visiting. Alternative hypothesis says that no, there is a difference in the beach sites, so number of tourists who visit those sites are different in a week. So here you're not able to prove we do not reject the null hypothesis. So null hypotheses are proven. It has been proven that all beach are similar. So when all beach are similar, when your score is low as compared to table value. Clear? So this is the chi-square test, and if you have any doubt, then I'll take the queries, and if not, then I'll take you to the SPSS, and from there then we'll apply both the test, chi-square as well as the paired sample t-test. But I'll let you know that how to apply the chi-square with the help of SPSS. Chi-square, you are not going to find any term called chi-square in SPSS. You have to remember that cross tab is the command, and for that route is different. You have to go to analyze, go to descriptive statistics. Descriptive statistics is the command where you have to go for apply the chi-square, and under the descriptive you are going to get a option called cross tab. So cross tab, just you can note it down that cross tab is the command for the chi-square test. And you're going to see that if you're going to refer 10 theses or 10 research paper, so out of that 10 research paper, you're going to find that 5 or 6 different author have used the ANOVA, and remaining 5 or 6 different author have used the test called chi-square in their research work. So both tests are very, very common in the statistics. So cross tab is the command. As you click on cross tab, this is cross tab window, and you can see I'm going to use a 2 variable BMI, which we have binned yesterday, that data of BMI given in terms of category with the category of blood pressure. So it is not necessary. You here you are going to get two columns. One is for row and one is for column, and you're not stick that which you will take to what. For example, one is your independent variable and second is your dependent variable. So you can keep anyone in anywhere. That not necessary that you should keep the BMI on row, or you cannot keep the BMI on column. You can keep anything anywhere. So two variable will be chosen. One will be kept at row and second will be kept at column. And after that you can go to statistics, and here in statistics you are going to get a command for chi-square. When you go inside under the a cross tab of statistics, here you are going to get a option for the chi-square, and you have to check this. Until unless you are not check this, the test will be only for frequencies, not for proportion. That means you have not applied the chi-square test. So just make sure that you have clicked this chi-square, and after that you have to go to the cell, and under the cell you have or you must click on this row. Now I will let you know that this is the most common mistake which my students are doing. They will click on the statistics and they will click on chi-square and they will apply the test. They always forget to click on this row. Now I will let you know that what will happen if you'll forget to click on percentage of row, which kind of data we are going to generate. You will not able to conclude anything from the test if you are not click on this row option. I'll mark it out with red color so that it will be easy for you to see this row. Clear? So once you will click, you are going to get a table by clicking continue, and first table of chi-square will be case processing summary. It will let you know that with what you have compared, what with what comparison. So as you can see that name of the variable will be written on left hand side, that you have compared the BMI with, this is the star sign which will be considered as versus blood pressure. That means you have compared BMI with the blood pressure. Number of sample in your study was 150. Missing cases, no missing cases, and total is again 150. As you can see, this is the second table of BMI, that is exact cross tabulation. Now you can see in this test which I have applied, I have a two category of BMI, blood pressure. Blood pressure is divided into two category. One is normal and second is high. And BMI is divided into three different category: normal, overweight, and obese. And you can see that we got person having BMI normal and blood pressure normal only 10, but person having BMI normal but high blood pressure, they were 7. So total persons who's having a normal BMI, they were 17. So this 17 is 10 plus 7. Clear? And this is the percentage of 10 and percentage of 7. Clear? Now from this table, what do you have to do, and why I have marked this one 78? Whenever you are applying a chi-square, you have to look for the highest proportion. So what do you have to do? First of all, you ignore all the hundreds. You ignore all the 100, because total we are not going to see. You are going to ignore this and you are going to ignore this total. That means we have a two values here, two category, normal and high, and three category here. That means our test is somehow 3 by 2. So we have to look for only 6 values. And what are these 6 values? 6 percentage. The first one, second, third, fourth, fifth, and this is the sixth one. 6% we have to see. Will not see total of x and total of y will not see. Clear? So out of these 6 value, where you are finding the highest percentage, that will be quoted in the results. So as you can see that out of these 6 value, we are getting a highest percentage in 78.9 here. So I have marked this circle. So who were these patient? These were those patient having high blood pressure. These patients were having a high blood pressure and under the category of BMI called obese. So like this you have to make a route, uh, which is variable given on the top and which is variable given on x-axis or y-axis. You have to make a set. That means set was made for obese, the person having obese BMI and person having high blood pressure. You have made this set that high with this one, that maximum proportion was found under this group. Clear? So how to write the result and what the chi-square statistics says. This is the chi-statistics table, final table of chi-square, and as if we have calculated a chi-square value, software has also calculated a chi-square value for us. Degree of freedom, clear, and you can see this is the p-value which we are going to quote. So Pearson was the scientist who have invented this test. So we used to call Pearson chi-square test. Clear? So we have to go for this top row, Pearson chi-square value, degree of freedom, and the, so if our value now standard is the same, if our value is less than 0.05, we are able to say that test was found significant. Otherwise, we'll say test was found not significant. Clear? Now, how to write the result based upon the value which we have got here, 78.9 for high and obese, and from this chi-square statistics, how we are going to write the results. These value we are going to quote. It was pretty obvious that the proportion. Now, see, I'm not using mean, I'm not using median. We are writing a proportions. Proportion in terms of percentage, 78.9. What we are writing, you can see, it was pretty obvious that the proportion of obese group, we are discussing about BMI, who had high blood pressure was higher, 78.9%, as compared to normal and overweight group. So BMI were having a 3 different category. So these are the first category, was the second category, and we are comparing our third category, that highest proportion was seen under obese group, those who are having a high blood pressure. And the result of the test or the difference was found significant. And this is the writing style which I have written on red color, that chi-square sign in the bracket. You will start the bracket, then you will write chi-square, again bracket, degree of freedom is equal to 2 I have taken from here, is equal to, then you can close bracket for degree of freedom, 14.82. This is 14.82. This is the statistics for 14.82. I'm not going to take 9 because third digit after decimal, so we'll stick to only 2 digit after decimal. 14.82 comma p value is equal to 0.001. Whatever the p value we have got, the same p value we are going to write. So what kind of mistakes students are doing, they will not click the row of what, this, they will not check the row under the option called cell. So they are not going to get a data of this percentage. That means this data you are not going to get percentage. You are going to get only numbers, that you are going to get this 10, 7, 41, 54, 4 or 30. So by seeing these number 10, 7, 54, 41, 8 and 30, you are not going to conclude anything, because whenever you are applying a chi-square, you have to quote the maximum proportion, that out of these six value, or sometime maximum proportion will be written at the bottom for 100. So student used to write the total maximum proportion by seeing this 100% or by seeing the lower value which is given for total. So what you have to do, you have to look that how many category are there under independent and how many category are there under dependent. This is, for example, this is our dependent variable, this is our independent variable, and we have three category here and two category here. So 3 into 2, 6. So we should look for only six values, which are this one, this one, this second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So whenever you have so many category, for example, you are comparing drug with the education level. So in education level, you have a six category, and drugs might be 25 in your project. So 25 into 6 will be 200. So it is very difficult to add that much of big table in your research paper. So what you'll do, you will not add this cross tabulation table in your thesis or in your research paper. Just you are going to write that what was the maximum proportion you have observed for blood pressure high, and what was the maximum proportion you have observed for normal. So you will quote this 78 and this 58. So highest proportion will be taken from each column, each row. That will do. So no need to add whole table. But obviously, we will not add this table also. If you're writing a thesis, then you can add this particular table in your thesis. But for research paper, I will not recommend. I will ask you just write that a comparison of BMI was conducted with blood pressure by using the test called chi-square, and result was found significant or not significant, and you can write the result in such a way that in one paragraph. That's it. No need to go for the multiple tables. And I'll see the queries if we have in the chat box. Just wait. Okay, sir, how to calculate if 10 value are there with the interval of 3 months in post treatment in case of HIV and cancer? How to check the long term efficacy compared to before after treatment? Yes, so for that you have to make a separate pairs. I will let you know how to make. I'm writing in the presentation, just look what I'm doing. So if you have a three different groups to compare for before and after studies, so what you will do, you can like T1, then T2. This will be called as pair 1. Clear? Pair 2 you have to make like this T2 and T3, and pair 3 again you have to make with T3 minus T1. So 3 pair you have to make, then you can run a single test. By this mean you can conclude. So actually what you are doing, you want to find out the mean difference. So by using 3 pairs, you are going to get the difference of all the 3. And if it will let you know, see, T statistics will be one which you are going to get. Either there is a difference between all the 3 groups or not. Clear? And that will be quoted with a one single value, but you are going to get a d bar value 3 times. One is for T1 T2, second one is for T2 T3, and third one is for T3 T1. Like this you can do. Sir, is there any alternative for paired t-test? See, alternative of paired t-test we have, okay, and that will be called as fried, as I told you. I will let you know. If you go to the same slide, there we are going to find a alternative. I'll show you. might be look, we'll go to our chart which we are referring. Yes, for paired, yes, paired variable. This is the test, Wilcoxon signed rank test. And Mann-Whitney U and Wilcoxon signed rank test are somehow similar, both. See, a paired t-test, what we have? We have a numeric variable. For example, this was weight 1, and this was, sorry, this was weight 1, and this was weight 2. And here again, we have weight 1 and weight 2. Both are not normally distributed and not normally distributed. And if one is not normally, one is normal and second is not normal, then also you have to go for the Wilcoxon signed rank test. And I'll just show one slide to you what it means, because we have included this test in our course with the name of Mann-Whitney U, which I am going to take tomorrow if I have a time after the test for independence. Yes, you see this slide. Let me, yes, note the Mann-Whitney U test, which I am supposed to take within next 2 classes, is statistically equivalent to the Wilcoxon rank sum test. So we'll go for this one, alternative of that. If you want me to run this one Wilcoxon, we will run, no issue. Otherwise, we are going to do the data with the Mann-Whitney U test, which is the alternative of independent t-test, where we have 2 categories to compare for a not normally distributed data. So we'll do this one with the numerical as well as for SPSS point of view. So I'll take you to the sheet. For that, I have to stop my presentation. And I'll share my sheet to you so that we can apply both the test, paired sample and another one. No, I have to share my whole screen, entire screen. Then only it will be visible. Yes. Yes, you can see that that is my SPSS window, and I think it's visible. And we have to compare 2 values, which is having before and after. You can see this one is systolic pressure systolic on admission, and this is blood pressure systolic on discharge. So what has happened? Same patient was there. What was the reading when they have admitted, and what was the reading when they have discharged? So during admission and during discharge is the same condition for before and after. So we'll go for an analyze. We'll go to compare mean and paired sample t-test. This is the paired sample t-test. We click OK, and there we'll look for the variable systolic blood pressure of patient on admission. This will be considered as variable 1, and blood pressure systolic distribution of the patient during discharge. This one, this is called set 1. And if you want me to add fasting blood sugar during admission, fasting blood sugar during discharge, so you can see I have added a 2 different variable together. In the slide I have shown you when 1 pair was there, but I have added 2 pair here. One is for systolic blood pressure and second one is for fasting blood sugar. We'll go to option 95% OK. Everything is set, no problem. We can click OK, and here we got the results. Now here you can see in the previous slide which I've shown you, we are getting only pair 1. Now we have got the pair 2. Clear? Now what we are getting here, you can see blood pressure systolic of the patient on admission. It was 195. When they discharged, the value was found 138. So there is a difference. Clear? You can see that there is a lot of difference. Fasting blood sugar of the patient when they admitted, it was 272 mean overall of 1914 patient, but standard deviation was too much 12, and fasting blood sugar at discharge is 137 actually. So whatever the treatment they are giving for hypertensive patient and whatever the treatment they are giving for diabetes, that was actually working. When they have admitted, the fasting blood sugar was 195, and when they discharge it was 138. So difference of how much? Difference of, you can see, 56 mmHg. Difference of 56 mmHg. And if we'll say that how much uh, glucose level has been reduced during the treatment, we are able to say that at least 135 mg per deciliter value for the fasting blood sugar. So mean value, this we are quoting, clear? And that is the p sample statistics. If we found higher the p value, we are going to get our result significant. If mean difference value is minimum, is very less, then it will be uh, very lower number test, not to be significant, clear? And you can see that n minus 1 we are getting a 1913 degree of freedom t statistics, and this is the overall. And here you can see the correlation, which is not recommended for paid sample t test, but still we have got when our value is near to 1. See, for fasting blood sugar we have got a lots of difference. So value is 0.89, which is somehow closer to 1, and for that case our result was found uh, significant 0.000. But in case of blood pressure systolic on admission and blood pressure systolic on discharge, the significant value is 0.05, exactly equal to the standard. We can see in this case, whenever we have a value like this 0.05, then after that I have a 2. So it's your own wish that you want to consider this one as a significant or not significant, because if you're seeing 2, then it is indicating that it is not significant. But if you remove 2, because as per the rule of stat, another rule that we should take 2 value after decimal, then it is equivalent to the significant. So we'll go to the positive side and we'll consider this one also as a significant. So this is the way that how we are applying t-test. And let me take you to the second, where we have a category for chi-square. We have to go to analyze, descriptive statistics, and crosstab. Crosstab is the command for the chi-square test, and we'll add two categorical variable. So I'll not add BMI. We'll add literacy status of the patient and physical activity, how much physical activity they were doing. We'll go to statistics, we click on chi-square, and see, I will not click on row. First I'll not click on row, then how we are getting a result. And now at present I have not clicked on row, so we'll see that what we are getting. And after that I'll click on row and we'll compare the results. It's getting, see, so multiple categories are there under each, so it will take time. Mm, oh, I have not got the results. Okay, analyze, descriptive, cross tab. Oh, it's showing error. Let me check. Analyze, descriptive, cross tab. You must have data in data editor to complete the action. Okay. If fatal error has occurred, see, I have not waited. The software was working and I have shut down my window. Due to that, error has been occurred. So I have to force quit. Then only it will work. So I'll close this presentation. Let it open. It will take time, another 30 seconds. I'll open in dataset PhD and we'll go to analyze, descriptive statistics, cross tab. There will add literacy status of the patient versus physical activity, chi-square test. Continue. Cell, actually we should click on row, but I don't want to click, so that I want to show that which kind of result we are getting. Yes. Yeah, here you can see that we have got a first table, case processing summary, 1914 patient, and this is the cross tabulation. And in cross tabulation we don't have percentage, we have only numbers. We'll ignore the total of x-axis and y-axis, because in physical activity I have three category: low, moderate and high. And literacy status of the patient was illiterate, 10th, senior secondary, diploma, graduation, master and PhD. So we can see that how many patients are under what category. So the person who are doing very low physical activity and those who are PhD, they were 4. So you can find out that PhD person are not doing the high physical activity, they are 0. And see, like this, and but still we have got the result that there is a difference between the groups. Both groups are correlated, and Pearson chi-square value is 47, degree of freedom 12, and significant value to side is 0.000. It means 0.001. Still we can consider that we have got the test significant, but we are not able to code the highest proportion because we don't have any percentage. So what we'll do, we'll click this one. See, no need to go to data set again. From the output window of results, you have icon here, shortcut icon, which I'm using right now. You can go to cross tab, go to cell and click on row and click continue and OK. Again, the results will be displayed. And here, yes, now you can see that here we have got the percentage. And out of this percentage, which one we should code? We'll ignore this line. We don't want, because that is equivalent to 100%. And we'll ignore this last line also, total. So total of x and total of y will not take. We have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 7 into 3 21 category to compare. So we'll mark black color, and here we'll see that where is the highest percentage. Highest percentage we have in this group, clear, 59.8. So what we'll code, in our result the person who are doing moderate physical activity, their literacy status will be diploma. That is the answer for the test. And if you want to give it separately, you can give highest percentage of physical activity high, highest percentage separately, physical activity moderate, high percentage separately, and physical activity low, highest percentage separately. And from here, which will you take, you can see that this one 102 and this one. When we are talking about physical activity low, numbers are 102, but percentage is 47.4. And here, in case of masters, numbers are 45, but percentage is the same, equivalent to 47.4. So number cannot show the highest proportion, because here you can see there is a lot of difference in number is 102 and 45. There is lots of difference between 45 and 102. But if you consider the percentage was found equivalent, that is 47.4 and 47.4. Actually, what percentage we are seeing? We are seeing the percentage of this will be equivalent to 100. This 100, that 47, 47 and 5.6 will be 100. And here we are getting 47, 42 and 10 equivalent to 100. So you can quote this and this for low, and highest if you want to find out. Obviously we have a highest here for moderate, and highest for high is this one, 17.6. So you can say that if you're talking about physical activity, or the person, those who are doing a high physical activity, they were graduate. uh, those patients or those volunteer who's having a education level graduation, those who are graduate, they are doing the high physical activity. And those who are illiterate and masters, they're doing low activity. And those who are diploma, they're doing a moderate activity. Like this you can find out the result for three different category of physical activity: low, moderate or high, based upon the uh, literacy status of the patient. And you can quote that result was found significant. There is a difference in the physical activity when literacy status of the patient differ. It is not the same. Not the same means, if person having education levels illiterate, 10th or senior secondary or diploma, they will do a different kind of physical activity. The physical activity status of all the person having a different education level are not the same. This year you are proving. And if your result was non found not significant, then it will be considered as same. So if any person is having a doubt or any query, they can ask, or otherwise I'll end the session here. Sir, the highest proportion is 63. I have not seen, might be. Let me check where it was. Actually, I have not seen. Yeah, it was down at 63. Yes. Yeah. See, this kind of mistake we used to have in the statistics. So be alert always and look for each value properly. So this we should quote. See, I have not thought before starting the class that I'm going to apply the literacy status of the patient with the physical activity, as I've seen in the my SPSS sheet. So I have just applied the test, and whatever the result I was getting, I was just seeing in front of you and discussing. The class was not prepared. Like, I'm going to do the comparison of literacy status with the physical activity at the beginning when I started the class, or earlier in the morning. I've never thought. So it was just a live uh, demo. No issue. So any doubt you can add in the chat box, or I'll end the session. I'm going to switch off the recording.